1. Bandhanagara Jataka. Not iron chains, etc. This story the master told while staying in Jetavana monastery, about the prison house. At the time of this story we hear that a gang of burglars, highwaymen, and murderers had been caught and brought before the king of Kosala. The king ordered them to be made fast with chains, and ropes, and chains. 30 country brothers, desirous of seeing the master, had paid him a visit and offered their salutations. Next day, as they were seeking alms, they passed the prison and noticed these rascals. In the evening, after their return from the day's rounds, they approached the Buddha. "Sir," they said, "today, as we were seeking alms, we saw in the prison house a number of criminals bound fast in chains and shackles, being in great misery. They could not break these shackles, and run away. Is there any chain stronger than these?" The master replied, "Brethren, those are chains, it is true. But the chains which consist of a craving for wealth, corn, sons, wives, and children are stronger than they are 100 times, no 1,000 times. Yet even those chains, hard to break as they are, have been broken by wise men of the olden time, who went to Himalaya and became hermits." Then he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta ruled over Benares, the bodhisattva was born into a poor man's family. When he grew up, his father died. He earned wages, and supported his mother. His mother, much against his will, brought a wife home for him, and soon after died. Now his wife conceived. Not knowing that she had conceived, he said to her, "Wife, you must earn your living. I will renounce the world." Then said she, "No, for I am with child. Wait and see the child that is born of me, and then go and become a hermit." To this he agreed. So when she was delivered, he said, "Now, wife, you are safely delivered, and I must turn hermit." "Wait," said she, "till the time when the child is weaned. And after that she conceived again. If I agree to her request," thought the bodhisattva, "I shall never get away at all. I will flee without saying a word to her, and become a hermit." So he told her nothing, but rose up in the night, and fled away. The city guard seized him. "I have a mother to support," said he, "let me go." Thus he made them let him go free, and after staying in a certain place, he passed out by the chief gate and made his way to the Himalayas, where he lived as a hermit, and caused the supernatural faculties and the attainments to spring up within him, as he lived in the rapture of meditation. As he lived there, he exulted, saying, "The bond of wife and child, the bond of passion, so hard to break, is broken." And he uttered these lines: "Not iron chains so the wise have told, not ropes, or bars of wood, so fast can hold as passion, and the love of child or wife, of precious gems and earrings of fine gold. These heavy chains who is there can find release from such? These are the ties that bind. These if the wise can burst, then they are free, leaving all love and all desire behind." And the bodhisattva, after uttering this aspiration, without breaking the charm of his ecstasy, attained to Brahma's world. When the master had ended this discourse, he explained the truths. At the conclusion of the truths, some entered the first path, some the second, some the third, and some the fourth. In the story, Mahamaya was the mother, King Shuddhodana was the father, Rahul's mother was the wife, Rahul himself the son, and I was the man who left his family and became an hermit. Jataka number 202. Kelly Sila Jataka. Geese, herons, elephants, etc. This story the master told while living at Jetavana monastery, about Khuddhaka the venerable and good. Now this venerable Khuddhaka, we learn, was well known in the faith of the Buddha. A famous man, speaking sweet words. A honeyed preacher, of keen discernment, with his passions perfectly subdued, but in stature the smallest of all the 80 elders, no bigger than a novice, like a dwarf kept for amusement. One day, he had been to the gate of Jetavana monastery to salute the Buddha, when 30 brothers from the country arrived at the gate on their way to salute him too. When they saw the elder monk, they imagined him to be some novice. They pulled the corner of his robe, they caught his hands, held his head, tweaked his nose, got him by the ears and shook him, and handled him very rudely. Then after putting aside their bowl and robe, they visited the master and saluted him. Next they asked him, "Sir, we understand that you have an elder monk who goes by the name of Khuddhaka the Good, a honeyed preacher. Where is he? Do you want to see him?" The master asked. "Yes, sir. He is the man you saw by the gate, and twitched his robe and pulled him about with great rudeness before you came here." "Why, sir," asked they, "how is it that a man devoted to prayer, full of high aspirations, a true disciple, how is it he is so insignificant?" "Because of his own sins," answered the master. And at their request he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, when King Brahmadatta reigned in Benares, the bodhisattva became Sakka, king of the gods. Brahmadatta could not endure to look upon anything old or worn out, whether elephant, horse, ox, or what not. He was full of pranks, and whenever he saw any such, he would chase them away. Old carts he had broken up. Any old women that he saw he sent for, and beat upon the belly, then stood them up again and gave them a scare. He made old men roll about and play on the ground like tumblers. If he saw none, but only heard that there was a greybeard in such and such a town, he sent for him from there and took his sport with him. At this the people for very shame sent their parents outside the boundaries of the kingdom. No more did men tend or care for their mother and father. The king's friends were as bad as he. As men died, they filled up the 4 worlds of unhappiness. The realm of the gods grew less and less. Sakka saw that there were no newcomers among the gods. And he thought about him what was to be done. At last he hit upon a plan. "I will humble him," thought Sakka. And he took upon him the form of an old man, and placing 2 jars of buttermilk in a crazy old wagon, he yoked to it a pair of old oxen, and set out upon a feast day. Brahmadatta, mounted upon a richly saddle-clothed elephant, was making a procession about the city, which was all decorated. And Sakka, clad in rags, and driving this cart, came to meet the king. When the king saw the old cart, he shouted, "Away with that cart, you!" But his people answered, "Where is it, my lord? We cannot see any cart. By his power let it be seen by no one but the king." And, coming up to the king repeatedly, at last Sakka, still driving his cart, smashed one of the jars upon the king's head, and made him turn round. Then he smashed the other in like manner. And the buttermilk trickled down on either side of his head. Thus was the king plagued and suffered, and made miserable by Sakka's doings. When Sakka saw his distress, he made the cart disappear, and took his proper shape again. Poised in mid-air, thunderbolt in hand, he scolded him, "O wicked and unrighteous king! Will you never become old yourself? Will not age assail you? Yet you sport and mock, and do despite to those who are old. It is through you alone, and these doings of yours, that men die on every hand, and fill up the 4 worlds of unhappiness, and that men cannot care for their parents' welfare. If you do not cease from this, I will split your head with my thunderbolt. Go, and do so no more." With this rebuke, he explained the worth of parents, and made known the advantage of reverencing old age. After which discourse he departed to his own place. From that time forward the king never so much as thought of doing anything like what he had done before. This story ended, the master, being perfectly enlightened, recited these 2 couplets. Geese, herons, elephants, and spotted deer, though all unlike, alike the lion fear. Even so, a child is great if he be clever. Fools may be big, but great they can be never. When this discourse was ended, the master explained the truths and identified the birth. At the conclusion of the truth some of those brethren entered on the first path, some on the second, and some upon the fourth. The excellent Khuddhaka was the king in the story, who made people the butt for his jests and then became a butt himself, while I myself was Saka. Footnotes. The 4 ap equals hell, birth as an animal, birth as a Pita, birth among the Asuras. Titans, for those crave violence and bloodshed. JATAKA number 203. Khuddhaka JATAKA. Virapakha snakes I love, etc. This story the master told while living at Jetavana monastery, about a certain brother. As he sat, we are told, at the door of his living room, chopping sticks, a snake crept out of a rotten log, and bit his toe. He died on the spot. All the monastery learned how he had come by his sudden death. In the hall of truth they began talking about it, saying how brother so-and-so was sitting at his door, chopping wood, when a snake bit him, and he died immediately of the bite. The master came in, and wanted to know what they were discussing as they sat there together. They told him. Said he, Brethren, if our brother had practiced kindness towards the 4 royal races of serpents, that snake would not have bitten him. Wise hermits in bygone days, before the Buddha was born, by using kindness to these 4 royal races, were released from the fear that sprang from these serpents. Then he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, during the reign of Brahmadatta king of Benares, the bodhisattva came into the world as a young Brahmin of Kasi. When he came of age, he subdued his passions and took upon him the life of an ascetic. He developed the supernatural faculties and the attainments. He built an hermitage by the bend of the Ganges near the foot of Himalaya, and there he lived, surrounded by a band of ascetics, lost in the rapture of meditation. At that time there were many kinds of snakes upon the Ganges bank, which did mischief to the hermits, and many of them perished by snake bite. The ascetics told the matter to the bodhisattva. He summoned all the ascetics to meet him, and thus addressed them. If you showed goodwill to the 4 royal races of snakes, no serpents would bite you. Therefore from this time forward do you show goodwill to the 4 royal races. Then he added this verse. Virapakha snakes I love, Arapatha snakes I love, Chabyaputa snakes I love, Khuddhaka I love. After thus naming the 4 royal families of the snakes, he added. If you can cultivate goodwill towards these, no snake creature will bite you or do you harm. Then he repeated the second verse. Creatures all beneath the sun, 2 feet, 4 feet, more, or none how I love you, every one. Having stated the nature of the love within him, he uttered another verse by way of prayer. Creatures all, 2 feet or 4, you with none, and you with more, do not hurt me, I implore. Then again, in general terms, he repeated one verse more. All you creatures that have birth, breathe, and move upon the earth, happy be you, one and all, never into mischief fall. Thus did he set on how one must show love and goodwill to all creatures without distinction. He reminded his hearers of the virtues of the 3 treasures, saying infinite is the Buddha, infinite the righteous path, and the order infinite. He said, remember the quality of the 3 treasures. And thus having shown them the infinity of the 3 treasures, and wishing to show them that all beings are finite, he added, finite and measurable are creeping things, snakes, scorpions, centipedes, spiders, lizards, mice. Then again, as the passions and lusts in these creatures are the qualities which make them finite and limited. Let us be protected night and day against these finite things by the power of the 3 treasures, which are infinite. For which reason remember the worth of the 3 treasures. Then he recited this stanza. Now I am guarded safe, and fenced around. Now let all creatures leave me to my ground. All honor to the Lord Buddha I pay, and the 7 Buddhas who have passed away. And asking them also remember the 7 Buddhas while they did honor, the Bodhisattva composed this guardian charm and delivered it to his band of sages. From then the sages had in mind the Bodhisattva's advice, and cherished love and goodwill, and remembered the Buddha's virtues. As they did this, all the snake kind departed from them. And the bodhisattva cultivated the excellencies, and attained to Brahma's upper heaven. When the master had ended this discourse, he identified the birth. The Buddha's followers were then the followers of the sage, and their teacher was I myself.